And also, the last time I checked, Hamites or Africans don't call themselves black. We call ourselves black. When I talk to Hamites, and for those that don't know what a Hamite is, that's Africans. When I talk to Africans, they don't call themselves African American. They don't use that dumb Pan-Africanist. They call themselves by the tribe or village that they live in. And they perceive us as less than. They look at us just as the white man looks at us. And I don't know why we got all this love for Africans when the white man didn't come into Africa to catch us. Africans brought us to the white man for slavery. So let's get, if we're going to talk about that part of history, let's talk about that. But then we also got to find out, why didn't they bring up the white Christians that replaced Jesus, gave it to us, and then we can't correct that? Like, we wrong for correcting that. That's why I had him repeat what the question was. The question was, what's wrong with us?
Hey, we're going to get a chance to respond, bro. Like, this ain't a monologue, my guy.
Go ahead, Adam. Go ahead. Listen.
I want to ask you a question.
It's an open forum. So if you got something to say, Adam,
part of the battle I love.
Can I ask you a question?
Let this sizzle in your spirit. Brother, you spoke for about 10 or 15. We sat on this stage.
I didn't ask you for 10 minutes. Come on,
bro.
Hey,
shut up. If you
ask me the question,
whoa, hold on, guys.
Hold tight, Captain.
Cap. Listen.
Y'all get the good side or you get the bad side.
Wait, Cap. Listen. We gotta keep it respectful.
You gotta say him. Listen, he interrupted me.
No. Listen, the interruptions will happen. This is a passionate debate, but the shut ups and all the little, we gotta keep that.
Hell no. If he interrupt me, if I give somebody respect and they can't respect me, I ain't gotta respect them.
No, Cap.
He's fired up. He's fired up.
Listen, I get.
I interrupted.
Did you?
So
you ain't even got to talk now, Adam.
So, Captain, are you posing the question? Posing the question
to who?
To Adam.
I ain't posing no. I'm talking. So, which side you on, moderator?
Captain, listen, man. Captain just turned up right now. So look, Captain, look.
Side y'all on? Y'all on my side or y'all neutral?
So check it out.
I ain't asking him nothing. I'm trying. Listen.
So Captain, close out. Listen, Captain.
May I say something?
I need you. I want to close out here because right now we're not being productive anymore. Let's close out so we can get over.
Wait, hold on.
Too many signs I can't read them. Wouldn't recognize the turn even if I seen it. Been driving all along, feel like I'm dreaming. Okay.
That was quite the intro, wasn't it? Well, Merry Christmas Eve to you. This is Street Apologists Live. I'm the host, Vocab Malone. Today we're going to be reviewing a debate that recently took place on Hardly Initiated. We've already seen a snippet of it. It was between two members of the ISUPK Hebrews Light Camp and Adam Coleman, BK Apologists, who have been frequent guests on this show. So come on in, hit the like button, and we're going to get right into watching it because we got a lot of clips to get through. We're going to review them. We're going to hear your opinion. Here's the short version, though. The Christian apologists crushed the ISUPK. Review's over. You guys can go home now.
We answered the question by making the distinction of what Christianity is, okay? I'm not trying to be funny, but there's levels to this. So really what we're talking about is what's called the law of identity. It's one of the basic laws of logic, okay? The law of identity is that everything is identical to itself. So let's just use a quick analogy. If Adam Coleman says that his wife is 5'4" and 5'7" and black and got with long dreads, and then you see me at the movies with some blonde hair, blue eyed chick, then that means that Adam Coleman's at the movies with somebody that's not his wife. Why? Because we know that in order for that to be my wife, it needs to be how I described it. What I'm saying is you guys are doing the same thing with Christianity. Okay, we're saying that Christianity. And I'm not going to speak over BK, but we define what Christianity is. Again, those essential doctrines: God exists, Jesus rose from the grave, Trinity, Jesus returns, things like that. That's what Christianity is. Okay,
you guys aren't even listening.
What you guys are talking about was not Christianity. The enslavement of our people, the whitewashing of the whitewashing of Jesus, using colonialism, all of those things. That's not Christianity. Anytime you add something to Christianity, you no longer have Christianity. It's something else. All right. It's not identical to Christianity. It's something else. So what I'm saying is if you add in white supremacy, then already you don't have Christianity anymore.
So I just wanted to start in the beginning to show you how multiple times, that's one, I'm going to show you another. While Adam or BK are talking, These guys are in the same room talking to each other. And it's it's like, how are you going to properly respond to your debate opponent if you're sitting there talking? So watch this. Watch the two ISUPK members who are in the same room.
Ancient Nubia, being a Christian nation from about the 15th century to about the 1300s or so. I mean, that's a Christian nation on the continent of Africa for about 1,000 years before colonialism. We're talking about Ethiopia, being the first established Christian nation, which obviously was an African nation. We're talking about guys like Tertullian, who was an African theologian going back to the 2nd century. We're talking about legends like St. Augustine, who we know was an African because his
conversation with each other at the ISUPK. You got one turning one way, one turning the other. And you're going to see this a number of times. And it shows that they didn't listen during the debate. So it's just totally unprofessional, and it makes sense why they couldn't respond. Look.
Understanding of history, then no wonder you don't have an accurate view of Christianity. The fact of the matter is, I'm going to try to be brief. If you think about the major nations that enslaved our people, the English, Danish, French, Portuguese, and so forth, the oldest of those nations in terms of in any way looking like it is now would be the British, right? It's the oldest of those nations going back to about the 5th century, which means that Christianity was flourishing in Africa for 5 centuries before any of the nations that enslaved our people even existed. What are you talking about that Christianity is the white man's religion? That's ridiculous. As my man pointed out, BK, the fact of the matter is there is not one single core doctrine of Christianity that hinges on or somehow entails erasing our ethnic identity, to affirm that God exists, that God is a Trinity, that Jesus rose from the dead, Jesus is Lord, affirming, the scripture, Jesus returned. There's no doctrine from Christianity that entails erasing black people's history, or anybody else's history for that matter.
So the discussion of the debate was, does Christianity erase black people's identity? ISUPK is saying yes. Adam and BK, who did a masterful job, obviously are giving the correct answer, which is they're saying no. So you got to understand, a lot of people were watching this debate, and it's the second in a series. The first was with Damon Richardson and Pastor Jerome Gay, and they did a bang-up job against two Pan-Africanists. And I think the day before on the same channel, and this channel's got 400,000 subs, and almost 100,000 people, I think, have watched this particular debate that we're viewing clips of. And so this is definitely getting around. And you can tell how excellent Adam and BK, you haven't heard from BK yet, but you will, did, and how detailed and historical they were. And these guys aren't even listening. So we have people in the live chat who I believe have seen the debate. They are already saying different comments. And let's put some of them on the screen. And Adam Coleman, and he's exactly right. Everyone subscribe to Walsh's channel. He does a show called The Reassembling. Marion says she was there, and it was fun. Awesome. And we also have Terrence Jones, who says, Cap was missing the whole point of what Adam and BK was bringing out. You are exactly right. And it is true, they were not listening. And GPS Rob says they probably got them on mute. Well, yeah, they muted their own microphones. But the point is that they're not listening to their opponents. They're just talking to each other. Nuck the 3 says they don't care. They're going to keep saying the same things, ducking the question. Walsh follows up. I mean, how rude can you be? To show such disrespect to your opponents by talking while they're talking. But Marion makes the great point. The audience was listening to the debate, and that's what counts. That is excellent to hear. Okay, so let's continue to look at some of this. And you guys are going to love these clips, even if you've already seen it, because there's so much that happened in this debate. It's worth more than one listen. And I want to go to the 44 mark here and play a little bit and watch what Adam says. He makes some great, great points. And I played some of this. Let me play a little more.
Again, those essential doctrines. God exists. Jesus rose from the grave. Trinity. Jesus returns. Things like that. That's what Christianity is. Okay. What you guys are talking about was not Christianity. the enslavement of our people, the whitewashing of the whitewashing of Jesus, using colonialism, all of those things. That's not Christianity. Anytime you add something to Christianity, you no longer have Christianity. It's something else. All right. It's not identical to Christianity. It's something else. So what I'm saying is, if you add in white supremacy, then already you don't have Christianity anymore. You have some sort of heinous monstrosity caricature that is not rightly identified as Christianity. So to bluntly answer the question, has it been used to erase Black identity? The answer is no. Christianity itself has never been used to erase African or Black identity. What has been used is a caricature wherein white supremacists added their cultural ills to the mix, and they perpetrated all these things. What we're seeing here is a failure and a lack of that on the other side of the house here. Lastly, I want to say, just again, by way of distinction, there's a distinction to be made between Christianity and Christians. Christianity is what we described earlier. Christians are those who profess and can rightly claim themselves as following Christ. So Christians do all kind of bad things. That would include me or whoever else. But just because a Christian has done something wrong, or groups of Christians do something wrong, that doesn't mean that Christianity is itself to erase Black identity. It's this heinous caricature that you guys unfortunately are making are not making the right distinctions, which is, I find it interesting that Frederick Douglass, who endured slavery himself, was able to make these distinctions, and yet somehow, all this time later, somehow many of us have lost the ability to do so. And I think that that's really unfortunate. But I'll yield right there.
Did you guys catch what Adam said? Now, BK had brought out a famous and very apropos Frederick Douglass quote where he says, if you're going to love true Christ-based Christianity, and I'm paraphrasing it, but if you're going to love that, then you've got to hate this other thing that's like the Christianity of the land, as it calls itself. Because that's, slave whipping, cradle robbing, and everything else. And you can't love one and love the other. You're going to love one and you're going to hate the other. And so Frederick Douglass was able to make a distinction, and that's a beautiful thing. And then Adam throws the shots, throws the shade. He says, it's a shame that some of our people have lost that ability to make those same distinctions. Really good. Really good. Now, listen to what BK says. And before you do that, I want to thank you, Ham Sunshine, for what I'll consider a Christmas gift. This will be the last live stream, unless I get stuck in an airport, I'm probably going to be able to do for about a week. And so I'm glad to be with you guys on Christmas Eve. All of you coming in here. Shout out to Layman Seminary and Ham Sunshine who just gave the super chat. Now listen to what BK says. One person asked, by the way, before I forget, who were the two debaters on the other side of the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge? It's Captain Tazarayach and Captain Akkad. I believe that's his name, is Captain Akkad. And they're either in Jersey or New York. And listen to BK. It's great what he says. Shout out to BK. He's in the live chat. Subscribe to him.
Go ahead, BK.
Right? Right. So listening is an art form. That's true. So is reading comprehension. That's why I started with defining the term, so that nobody can be misconstrued about what we are talking about, so we don't talk past each other. So that's the reason why I started with that term. Two, Tazarayach, you've been dealing with urban apologists for a minute. None of us think this dude is white. So that's cap, off rip. None of us. Even your boy Vocab don't think he's white. You know what I mean? So that's so just put that. You don't like Black Hebrew Israelites, that term? We don't like you saying that we follow white Jesus. So how about we put that aside, right? We could do that, right? And then you said that Frederick Douglass, he saw the distinction, but still followed the religion of his oppressors. I would love for you to cite a source that shows that for us. And that's it.
So actually, I want to jump in here because it's interesting.
Wasn't that great? Time to Repent says they're in the ATL. Well, they may have been visiting, but I know that's not where Tazarayach lives. You're saying that they were in the ATL at that time? Maybe they were. I don't know. Okay. Nate says that's why they're both Captain skeletons. Shout out to Nate2D2, one of the best mods in the business. Merry Christmas to you, sir, out there in the snowy area that you live in. And you're exactly right, Michelle. And you're exactly right, Walsh. You're also right, Nook. And you're right, Kalonji. Okay, so you guys ready for some more clips? I want to know what you guys think about this, and if we have time, I'd love to bring some of you on and hear some of your responses here. And now I want to go into the 54-minute mark. Shout out to D New, who helped get all of these little spots where we need to play lined up, because it's a lot to get through here. And so very grateful that she was able to do that. So now we can listen to these clips in this debate because it was quite long. We're just going to check out some of it.
We'll go back to BK, but Adam, can you respond?
I'll end it there and let Akai go. But you wanted me to answer the super chat question.
No, I do.
Now, right?
Well, no, the whole time
Okay.
we're gonna come back to Akai. I specifically want to address this doctrine. So Adam, how do you respond to what the captain has stated?
Yeah, again, I think there's just, in regard to Captain Tazarayach, there's just a continued failure to make important distinctions, right? So the question is not whether or not the doctrine of discovery was wrong. It was absolutely, the doctrine of discovery was wrong and sinful, and everybody who co-signed it, including the Pope and on down, was wrong and sinful. As far as I'm concerned, they probably bust hell wide open. Slavery was wrong and sinful. Any of the ills that you named, you know what I'm saying, we can agree that it was wrong, sinful, wicked, whatever term you want to use. The question is not whether or not those things were wrong. On that, we agree. The question was, has Christianity been used to erase black identity? And to that, again, I say no. The distinction you're not making, what I said earlier, there's a distinction between Christianity, which is the worldview that I described earlier, Trinity, resurrection, so on and so forth, and Christians, people who proclaim to be Christians, right? So when you think about it, you keep saying they did this, they did that. Well, Christianity is not a they, okay? Christianity is a worldview. So we agree that those professing Christians, were dead wrong. It's just like this, and I'll wrap it up with a brief analogy. I live here in Virginia. Back in 2017, there was that whole incident where Heather Heyer got ran over by a car. You know, the people was out there with tiki torches and so forth. She gets hit by a car and killed. I think it was a Dodge Caravan. Now, nobody went out and protested Dodge Caravans, right? Or no, Dodge Viper, I think it was what. Nobody went out and protested the Dodge factory. Why? Because they recognized that the car wasn't the problem. It was the person who was behind the wheel that committed a wicked act. And what I'm saying is Tazarayach is making a conflation between the car and the person, right? Christianity is not the problem. It's those people who profess to have been Christians, and most of them lyingly so, and did wicked things in the name of Christianity. And again, I'm calling that a perverse caricature of Christianity, not Christianity itself. Christianity has never been used to erase black history.
Hey,
There you have it.
man,
I know we were
exactly
close.
right. Did you hear that? Beautiful, beautiful response all the way through. And, you know, this debate popped up at the last second. And it's amazing to see how these two gentlemen were ready. They didn't even know who their opponent was going to be until, very short time. And they were ready. And so it's beautiful to see. Shout out to Hardly Initiated for hosting this discussion. And I loved watching this so much. You love seeing people shine who are in their bag that are your friends, and it was just an amazing thing. I was so happy to see him. I pinned BK's YouTube channel in the chat, so subscribe to that there. And I see that some of you were there. Jalissa Brown says, I'm a subscriber of UVocab and the Hardly Initiated platform. Well, thank you very much for that. That's very good. Then she says, I was on live during the discussion last week, and it was cringe. HBI, I think you mean BHI, sounded nuts and flat out uneducated. Thanks for critiquing it. Oh, yeah, well, I appreciate that and all that. And, Jalissa, put a bug in their ear as a sub over there. Tell them you want to see vocab debate Guerrilla Hebrew. And why do I specifically say Guerrilla Hebrew Sakari? Because I asked him if he'd be interested, and he said yes. We've already got the topic laid out. He's going to have one of his guys. I'm going to have Pastor Mike Holloway. So a 2-on-2 debate. Which one has the truth, Christians or Israelites? I'm trying to make it happen. So I'm hoping that maybe in the new year they'd be down to put that on. What do you think? Shout out to White Label Consulting, the one who makes the studio look nice when it's nice, and when it doesn't look nice, it's because he's not around. How you doing, though, man? It's fantastic to see you. No doubt, no doubt, no doubt. Okay, so let's watch this next spot, please, and let's see what's going on. James, oh, wait, first let me get one more comment. Jason Ulysses Gordon says, Merry Xmas. I watched all 7 hours of this podcast. Brutal. ISUPKs are so rude. Christians and amazing Jesus will be proud. I think you might be right. No, Ted East, Gorilla's not going to run. I hear what you're saying, but I asked him, and he said, yeah, I think he'd be very interested. Him and I have debated before. If there's one Hebrew Israelite who would not run from a debate with me at Peak Gorilla Hebrew, if he says he'll be there, I believe that he would be there for that. He wants to be on this platform, and he wants to have a good, fiery discussion with me. That's my read of the situation. He's not going to run. That's sort of not his vibe. So we'll see what goes down. Okay, here's the next spot. We're 57 minutes in, and this is sad because Akkad just does not understand the argument. He's going to fall back into sound bites and rhetoric, and he's going to blame books for Adam's confusion. And I missed this the first time through, so again, thank you, D. New, for pointing this out. Listen to this, guys. This is where they just, every negative stereotype that a person might have of a Hebrew Israelite, this man really just solidified it all the way through.
Adam. Okay, Adam, brother, do you even know what you're talking about? Like, are we sitting here? I'm trying to understand. I feel sorry for the people in chat. Why do you keep saying Christianity? Why do you keep saying it's not Christianity? It's Christianity.
Grammar
brother, I don't know if you hear yourself, and it's sad because well, Christianity, the religion of Christianity, because Christianity is not in the Bible. What you believe in is not in the Bible at all. It's not in the Bible. But what Christianity is philosophy. Philosophy is another man's ideas. That's why they infuse Christmas with the Bible. That's why they brought in Easter with the Bible. That's why, they bring in paganism with the Bible, because it's another man's ideas to influence his society. You have been influenced by American society. Keep saying Christianity, the Christianity. That's why you, in your mind, you keep saying Christianity because you're creating your own ideas and beliefs. Your beliefs are not based in the truth. They're not based in the truth. They're based in the ideas in your mind. Turn around real quick. Adam, turn around real quick. You see all them books behind you? That's why you're so confused. That's why you're so all them books, all them the Christianity, the T. It's in your mind, brother. It's in your mind. What you talking about
that's the
is
most
not in the Bible.
anti-intellectual thing I've heard in a long time, brother. That's crazy.
I'm just letting you know what you're saying is not in the Bible.
Right.
It's philosophy. You believe in philosophy, and philosophy is nothing. Nothing you say just now is
what I believe. I'm sorry.
Scriptural, biblically based. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, you spend a lot of time telling me what I believe, and you making baseless assertions and not providing
that boy,
a shred of evidence or
don't got
logic
no
to
discipline to
support
save
it.
his life.
Come on, bro.
BK Chama.
Yo, Christianity. I think. Hey, I'm putting on my glasses to match a cod. I think that might be the debate clip of the year outside of the Billy Carson Wes Huff debate discussion. The other one, just for its sheer epicness, if you say it's a forgery, that's good enough for me. Let's talk about the Old Testament. For the sheer epic size of it, you know what I mean? But for humor's sake, this is probably the debate clip of the year. Turn around, Adam. Oh, man. Okay, I got to regain my composure. ALC says my brain cells are unaliving. themselves listening to this dude. I feel you. Shout out to Apologia Center in the house. Everyone subscribe to his channel. Apologia Center, tell us what the Armenians do for Christmas. Is it on January 6th? I'd love to know. BK, Jason says he was with you live during the podcast and you did great. You should be proud if pride wasn't a sin, LOL. Yeah. Walt says, out of all the captains, Sass saw this guy as the one of the sharpest to be in this debate. Oh, great point. Do you guys understand what he's saying there? This is actually something we discussed behind the scenes. Not Walsh and I, so that just means we're thinking alike here. But some of the other folks were shocked. You know, maybe he's trying to put them on. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, when you're in a high school rap group and you let your one friend rap, and they're not that good, but it's your friend, so he's part of the group. By the way, in high school, I was that guy. I was the one my friends put on because I was their friend. So that's a self-effacing story, but I feel like that might be what's going on with Walsh. I mean, I'm sorry, with Akkad, to your point, Walsh. And then shout out to Yandel for the Feliz Navidad. I need like a Merry Christmas thing or something, but I do have this. So let's put this on. Merry Christmas. For real, thank you very much. And also, Yandel, a.k.a. Mr. Torres, thank you for helping to assist so I can get new books for school. You know more details because you're a supporter, you're on the squad, so you know more details. I'm not going to share all the details here with everybody else, but thank you for helping for that to happen. I do greatly appreciate that. Now, what happened with the whole Christianity thing is it's because BK was defining it in the beginning, and he did a great job of defining it, but then they just emphasizing different elements in the way he pronounced it. So I don't know. I want to play that clip again, but we have a lot to get to, so I'm going to go to the next part. Right here, you're going to hear a beautiful close from BK because they bring other people on, but I just want to play this part right here where BK just did a masterful job, and he just deserves so much kudos, so much props, so much credit, and I think that you guys will be blessed by this close. Again, these brothers deserve all the flowers. And so let's listen to this on the Hardly Initiated podcast and debate.
That boy don't got no discipline to save his life.
Come on, bro.
BK chime in because BK is pretty stoic. It's pretty stoic about this. BK, how do you want to close us out, man? How do you respond to?
Again, right? Words matter. Words have definitions, right? The Christianity that you like to make fun of is defining what it means to be of Christ. I like to believe that you think that that's in the Bible, right? But being like Christ is in the Bible. And what you're doing is you created this strawman factory, you know what I mean? And you're not talking about what we're talking about. That's why I started with, let's define the term, right? Anything that's antithetical to Christ, we condemn. And if you heard me when I first started, I condemned the wicked white people who enslaved us. I said that in my first thing. So it's not like we're scared to go at white folk. We have no problem. Whoever is going against the gospel, they can catch it. White or you. It really don't matter. Free smoke. You know what I mean? It's free smoke. So please, if you're going to define or you're going to attack Christianity, attack what we actually believe. Not the strong man. Because what you're attacking, we attack too. We're against that too. So that's it.
And that's why today I wore my New York hat in honor of BK Apologist because of that. Now, this whole thing is funny because BK historically doesn't do debates. He got sort of snuck into this one. It's a long story, but it's actually not that long. But they tell it on the podcast when BK did the review, and it's really good. But, man, he's a natural. I hope this is his first debate among many. I mean, you guys hearing that? It was perfect. Beautiful. He's exactly right. Terrence says, BK, did not come to play with them. That's exactly right. Romeo says, Hodoken! That's right. Yondell says, Oof! Yondell also says, fire. Oh, man, see, you guys got it. That's exactly right. Now, we had a number of people who came on afterwards. Let's hear some of the interaction here when different people came on. I think this is the part where, I don't know if this is where they started bringing them on yet, but it's close to around here. But either way, Adam's got a great answer here. And let's listen to this.
All who believe in Jesus Christ, regardless to race or heritage. Adam, we can go ahead and start with you.
So they're starting to take questions from the audience, and someone asks about who can receive salvation. And Adam gives a beautiful response. Yosef Yehuda first in our live chat. Let me respond to this, or at least put it on here. The biggest delusion is sola scriptura. The reason there are so many sects and cults of Christianity is that each group has its own oral traditions of translations that they pick up and choose. Okay. King Dog says it was a really good conversation. I agree 100%. And then also we have Yahudi Hebrew who says, what would you do without the Hebrew Israelites? If you're able to, you can jump on. I'll put the link here in the live chat and maybe.
Absolutely true. That's a resounding yes. And if I could, can I give some reasons as to
Absolutely.
why we're referring to that?
Please.
Okay, great. So, I think it's always important, just like if you have like a puzzle, right? In order to figure out where the pieces of the puzzle fit, it's helpful to have that puzzle box where you can get the big picture, right? It's the same way with interpreting scripture. When you're dealing with specific questions, you always want to keep the big picture in view, all right? So real quick, I just want to read one verse right quick so we can kind of get that big picture. This is Acts chapter 17, starting at 25. And this is Paul speaking to the Greeks. He said, and he, meaning God, is not served by human hands as if he needed anything. Rather, he himself gives everyone life and breath and everything else. From one man, he made all the nations that they should inhabit the whole earth, and he marked out their appointed times in history and the boundaries of their lands. God did this so that they would seek him and perhaps reach out for him and find him, though he is not far from any of us. So this is the Apostle Paul, and what he's saying is God has a global vision when it comes to salvation. God has a global vision. From one man, he made all nations. That word nations is going to keep coming up, right? In the Greek there, the word nations is the word ethnos, okay, which means people groups. It's not just some sort of like geographical area. It means people groups, all families, sometimes you'll see in the translation. So Paul is pointing back to Genesis 1, where, mankind is made in God's image, right? He's commissioned, to have dominion over the earth, go replenish the earth, and so on and so forth. And according to Paul, the reason why God did this is so that all would seek after him and hopefully find him. Now, if we start with that big picture, it's impossible to somehow, cherry pick other scriptures and rightly conclude that only one group should be saved. Because we just saw here, the big picture is that God's design, his desire for salvation was for all people groups. Now, how does God accomplish this? Well, God, his plan of salvation it was to Israel and works through Israel, ultimately fulfilled in Jesus Christ. I'll be quick with this. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 49. All right. We're going to start at, this is just a couple verses here. Excuse me, Isaiah 49. We're going to look at verse 6. All right. Verse 5. And now the Lord says, he who formed me in the womb to be a servant to bring Jacob back to him. Jacob in the Old Testament, that's just referring to all of Israel. Jacob back to him and gather Israel to himself, for I am honored in the eyes of the Lord, and my God has been my strength. He says, it is too small a thing for you to be my servant, to restore the tribes of Jacob, and to bring back those of Israel I have kept. I will also, somebody in the chat say also, I will also make you a light for the Gentiles, that my salvation may reach to the ends of the earth. Now, wait a minute. Now, we know, this may be due to some of the people in the audience, but our brothers here at ISUPK would probably say that Gentiles are like wayward Israelites from the northern tribes that had gotten away, and so on and so forth. However, if you look at this passage, the first part, especially verse 6, the first part refers to restoring the tribes of Jacob. That's all the tribes, to bring back those of Israel that I've kept. So whoever is wayward and need to be brought back from elsewhere, It's those of Israel. That's already accounted for in those first two lines of verse 6. So it cannot be the case that when those Gentiles are wayward Israelites, because all the Israelites have already been accounted for in the first half of the scriptures. What I want to look at is how did the apostles, how did they look at passages like Isaiah and understand it? Well, let's just real quickly. I have several others, and maybe we'll get back to it, but I'm trying not to filibuster. If we look at Acts chapter 13, 44 through 47, and this is my last one, and I'll yield here. It talks about it says, on the next Sabbath, almost the whole city gathered to hear the word of the Lord. When the Jews saw the crowds, they were filled with jealousy. They began to you first, but since you rejected and do not consider yourselves worthy of eternal life, we now turn to the Gentiles. For the Lord has commanded us, and then they quote Isaiah, I have made you a light for the Gentiles, that you may bring salvation to the ends of the earth.
Now, I know this part's a little bit longer. He's wrapping up here. But he just did a great job, because the question is about who is salvation available for. And we've got a good amount of people in the live chat here. We almost hit 200 at a certain point ago. So go ahead. Let's get those likes up. Please hit that like button on this video if you haven't already hit it. And leave a comment in the live chat. Tell me your name and where you're from, because the live chat will help people jump on as well. And so I hope that you could do that, even if it's just to say hi. Let him wrap up this point here. About a minute or so left.
The apostles referred to Isaiah, and they understood that being a light to the nations, which was one of the essential calls to Israel, was fulfilled in the preaching of the gospel to non-Israelites. That's how they understood it, right? So anybody who's suggesting that Israel can't be, that non-Israelites, can't be saved, they're actually undermining one of the essential assignments that God had for Israel in the first place. Furthermore, they can't make any sense of Revelation chapter 7, where it lists out the 12,000 from each of the tribes, and then goes on to say that after that they saw a multitude that cannot be numbered of many tribes, languages, ethnos, and so forth, right? So it's not the case that God is only concerned about Israel. That has never been true. And you can trace it from Genesis to Revelation and see that God is concerned about all mankind. He worked to Israel and through Israel to work his plan of salvation.
That's good, Adam. And he's talking about your favorite subject there, my man. God for all nations is in the building. Everyone, please subscribe to his channel. I had him on the show the other day. Hey, Mr. Burroughs, people were still talking about under the blood part. They're still talking about that. We got Arizona in the house. We got Detroit, King Dog, Jason from AZ, G. Martin from Dayton. Hey, we should link up. I'll be out there pretty soon. Baron from New York. Shout out. Marcos from Central East Cali. Excellent. Now, here's BK's answer about salvation for all. And he also does great. Listen to this. Shout out Angel from Connecticut.
Thank you, Adam. BK, did you have anything to add before we went to my brothers?
Oh, before I forget, I have now dropped the link in the live chat. If you want to come in and talk to me, if you saw this debate, even if you're just seeing it now based upon the clips you've seen, please give me your thoughts. I'd love to hear your thoughts if you have questions about this. This is a big one. The video that's up now is almost hit 100,000 views. Now, the Wes Carson debate is almost at 1 million on Wes's channel. This one's at 100,000. That's a huge debate for a Hebrew Israelite Christian debate. And Jay says the captain's definitely won. Okay, Jay. Well, if you also, Jay, make sure you fill out the poll. There's a poll asking who won, and make sure you register your viewpoint on that. Shout out to Jalissa from Nashville, Tennessee, and Marion from the Kingdom of Norway. Listen to BK's great response about who is salvation for, who can be saved.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, God has always had a plan for the entirety of humanity, as jacked up as humanity was from the very onset, right? But God has had a plan to reclaim the nations. And he did that via a very interesting contract that he made with Abraham, right? The contract that he makes with Abraham is different than the one he makes with Israel. What Yahweh did with Abraham was known in ancient Near East as a royal grant, right? It's not a covenant in the sense that I do this, you do that. God in this contract does all the heavy lifting. And it's like, you are my servant, and I want to give you these benefits, right? And these benefits is going to have him have a multitude of nations come from him, and that these nations will also worship him the way Abraham does.
So Abraham was promised a number of things in the Abrahamic covenant. He was promised a people. He was promised a land, right? He was promised basically prosperity and a number of other things. And ultimately, this is fulfilled in the seed. And you guys know the argument from Galatians, at least you should. Barron says he'd like to hear more of the debate with commentary intermittently. Well, if you want to hear it with no commentary, you have to go watch the debate. It's on the Hardly Initiated channel. Shout out to Plain Truth from Inglewood, Grant Scott from Dallas, Texas, checking in, and Kalanji from the Grove and Los Angeles. So BK is still killing it about this very important question, something we go back frequently with Hebrew Israelites. He's got a few more minutes here.
And what we see throughout the course of the Hebrew Bible is God working that particular contract throughout history and through Israel. For instance, Exodus 32, verse 9, and the Lord said to Moses, I have seen this people, and behold, it is a stiff-necked people. He's talking about Israel. Now, therefore, let me alone, that my wrath may burn hot against them and may consume them, in order that I may make a great nation of you. And how does Moses persuade Yahweh to not destroy this fledgling nation known as Israel? In verse 13, he says, well, remember Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, your servants, to whom you swore by your own self, and said to them, I will multiply your offspring as the stars of heaven, and all that this land that I have promised I will give to your offspring, and they shall inherit it forever. And the Lord relented from the disaster that he had spoken of bringing on his people. So we have in Israel only because God remembered the contract he made with Abraham. And once they get to Mount Sinai and they have this contract as a nation, look what Moses keeps reminding them, right, in Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy 1, verse 8. See, I have set the land before you. Go and take possession of the land that the Lord swore to your fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, and to give them and to their offspring after them. Deuteronomy 6, verse 10. And when the Lord your God brings you into the land that he swore to your fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, to give you with great and good cities that you did not build. Deuteronomy 9, verse 5. Not because of your righteousness or the uprightness of your heart are you going in to possess their land, but because of the wickedness of these nations, the Lord your God is driving them out from before you, and that he may confirm the word that the Lord swore to your fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and Jacob. So it has nothing to do with them being righteous. It had everything to do with God being a God of his word to Abraham.
Do you guys understand that? What BK is saying is how Yahweh is the backbone of this covenant, and it's based upon his promises, what he says, what he is going to do. It's based upon his mercy. It's based upon his grace. It's based upon his faithfulness. It's based upon his purpose and plan in the world, which is one of redemption. And BK is doing an exegesis here, so this can be remembered, because the way Hebrew Israelism uses these promises, it's in a triumphalistic manner. It's a unjustified triumphalism is what it is. And so BK is showing a bigger picture that's very helpful and very appropriate to put it in context, what's really going on here. And this is important. And really the whole point of Israel is to get to Christ in the first place. You guys know? Yeah, I hope you guys understand that. Now, when we watch a debate like this, we want the other side to be able to have their eyes opened by God's grace and the people who follow. I really do think that the audience, the people watching, they really had their eyes opened. They really had their eyes opened because I've seen the comments and I saw the response, and it was good that was happening. That was good that was happening. And so listen again to this clear response about the nature of salvation and who it's available for, regardless of ethnicity or heritage.
Deuteronomy 29, verse 13, that he may establish you today as his people, and that he may be your God, as he promised you, and as he swore to your fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. Deuteronomy 30, verse 20, loving the Lord your God, obeying his voice and holding fast to him, for he is your life and length of days, that you may dwell in the land that the Lord swore to your fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. He gave them. Deuteronomy 34, verse 4. And the Lord said to him, this is the land of which I swore to Abraham. And then once again, we see Israel in trouble in 2 Kings 13, 23. But the Lord was gracious to them and had compassion on them. And he turned Jacob and would not destroy them, nor has he cast them from his presence until now. So, Israel, as important as they are a means to an end.
Exactly. Ted East says that the Book of Life channel is being bombarded by BHI. Tell me more about Book of Life channel. I don't know much about it. Shout out to All Things Theology, K-Dub. How you doing? We still should do some debate reviews, my friend. I really think we should. Maybe in the new year if you're still up for it. I hope that we can. Hosts of Hardly Initiated, they really made the last week a Christian Apologetics week. First, they had on Pastors Jerome Gay and Damon Richardson, and they debated who was described as Pan-Africanists. And then the next day was the idea continued about, is Christianity basically a white man's religion is anti-black, anti-African. And here was our two apologist friends, Adam Coleman, BK, against Captain Tazarayach and Captain Cod. So we're going to continue playing that. And if you would like to jump on and talk about this debate, the link is in the live chat. I'll drop it again. It's on the screen, too. It's very easy. It's just https://guestspot.live. Come on in. Come on in. King Dog says, I think if the chat had been more balanced, equally balanced, you can make that assumption, but it was not. I watched the debate. Okay, well, if you would like to talk about it, you can totally come on. You don't have to stay the whole time, but it'd be great to have you. Aaron says, I enjoyed both Bonhoeffer. Oh, thank you. I hope you get to see the movie because of the little talks I gave on it. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. So about 50 seconds
the
left.
End is the fulfillment of the Abrahamic covenant. In Romans 9, verse 6, but it is not as though the word of God has failed, for not all who descended from Israel belong to Israel.
Yep.
Not all are children of Abraham because they are his offspring. But through Isaac shall your offspring be named. This means that it is not the children of the flesh who are children of God, but the children of the promise are counted as his offspring.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, God has always intended all humanity to come back, and he wanted Israel to be the vehicle to do it.
Of the flesh, these are.
He is right. Sorry, I jumped there a little bit too soon, but we are going to go now to Captain Tazarayach and hear what he had to say here in just a second. We're going to get part of his perspective here. Again, shout out to Dinu for getting the clips out of this debate with the time codes. And so that was helpful and that was important. And so I'm glad that that you were able to do that so I could be able to do this. Let's hear what Captain Tazarayach says in his turn to respond. This is about an hour and a half in. And again, if you'd like to give perspective, come on in. The link is in the chat.
Region of the melanation that qualifies you. And then go ahead and also answer this before we get over to my brothers.
I'll do the melanin one before I give it to Akai. Melanin has nothing to do with this. We don't suffer from colorism. Colorism is something that plagued us with slavery, where they would take a light-skinned person, and now because you light-skinned, like I got to get told all the time because I'm light, I got white in me, and I ain't got no white in me. Or a dark-skinned person has to be black and has no white in them because they're dark-skinned. Your skin tone means absolutely nothing to the Israelite school of universal practical knowledge. Whatever you are ethnically, whether you're light-skinned, got blue eyes, you can have blue eyes, blonde hair. If you're an Israelite, you're an Israelite. You can have.
Okay, but you said Jesus didn't have blonde hair and blue eyes, which I agree with, by the way. But now I guess you would just say maybe it's because of mixture or something on the maternal side. I don't know.
Nappiest hair, the biggest nose, the blackest skin. But if you're not an Israelite, you're not an Israelite. We don't suffer from colorism in the ISUPK. You got it, Kyle.
No problem. And I just want to read up a couple.
Okay. I had a follow-up. So you saying it's not necessarily based on whether you're white or black. It's just based on whether you believe you're an Israelite.
It's not based on color, is what he's saying. It's not based on your pigmentation. You understand that?
Can anybody?
It's about nationality, but it's not based on your pigmentation. You have brothers who are very, very fair skinned, who are Israelites. What Captain Tazarayach is saying, it is not about the color of your skin, is what he's saying.
But you can't be white.
I don't even. When you say can't be, just so I can understand.
Caucasian.
When you say can't be, when you say, so I'm gonna give y'all an example. Bob Marley is not black to us. That's a white man, because his father is a white man. That help you understand now?
Hey, watch the host on the top left corner. I'm going to rewind that part a little bit. King Dog says, I kind of. Well, I appreciate that. And again, if you want to come on briefly and give your perspective, that'd be great to hear, if you're up for it. But I know that, you can't see everything, but carefully watch the host on the top left corner. I want you to watch him. He has a funny response the way he shifts his head. I wish he was zoomed in on. Watch this.
Tazarayach is saying it is not about the color of your skin, is what he's saying.
But you can't be white.
I don't even. When you say can't be, just so I can understand.
Caucasian.
When you say can't be, when you say, so I'm gonna give y'all an example. Bob Marley is not black to us. That's a white man, because his father is a white man. That help you understand now? So Bob Marley's father is a white Irish man who married or had sex with a West Indian woman. And so although he has melanated skin, he just looks like his father in blackface. So to us, he's not one of us. But then you take Blake Griffin, who has a black father, a Haitian father, and he has a white mother. Not only does Blake Griffin look light-skinned, his son looks light-skinned because I think he married a white woman too. We would identify them as Israelites. So the Caucasian term, we wouldn't look at that. So if a person comes to us, the first thing we would ask them is like, what's your father? What's your father's father? Stuff like that. And if you're ethnically one of us, then you're one of us. But like, let's say if you're ethnically one of them, then you're one of them. So if someone comes in and they're African, if you're a Hamite, you're not one of us. I have to say Hamite to not offend my brothers over there in Africa that are Israelites. So if you're a Hamite, you're not one of us either. That's what we're trying to explain.
When they say Hamite, they mean people who are on the African continent that they deem as not Semitic. Now, historically, people have not associated Semitic people with the continent of Africa for the most part, rightfully so for the most part. But these guys make this distinction about there's Semitic people who lived in Africa, but they weren't Africans, and then Hamitic folks who they think are actually going to be enslaved and in chains. And so that's what he's saying there. It's interesting, though. He said the first thing that we ask you is who's your father and your father's father. Notice you can only go back a few generations. They can say that about Bob Marley because they know who his father was. But what if they didn't know? Like, let's say he was adopted into a family that looked more traditional Jamaican, but he didn't know he was adopted. They wouldn't know Bob Marley was like his father in blackface, as Captain Tazarayach so insensitively said about Bob Marley. And, you can't go back any farther than 3-4 generations max. And one little guy discounts you, disqualifies you. How do they know there's not disqualifying guys along the way? They really don't. Someone named Constantine, I got to say, you're not helping, says Jesus did have blonde hair and blue eyes. Pontius Pilate described him in a letter. He's an eyewitness. Any letters purporting to describe Jesus' physical features from Pontius Pilate are late forgeries way after Pontius Pilate was dead. That's why no historian accepts them. No historian accepts that Jesus was written about by Pontius Pilate in letters where he physically described him. And so I don't know why you think Pontius Pilate wrote a description of Jesus Christ. Pontius Pilate didn't think anything special about Jesus to such a degree that he would need to describe the way he looked, first of all. Second of all, any type of records you're talking about aren't really records contemporaneous to the lifetime of Pontius Pilate. Jesus did not have blonde hair and blue eyes. Please. And you followed it up by saying it was a white civilization 2,000 years ago. I'm guessing you're a British Israelite or Christian identity. I hope you're not identifying as an evangelical Christian anyway, because you would really not be helping the situation with comments like these. You are being as historically egregious as some of the people in the debate that we are watching. Come on, man. King Dog says Captain is a great debater and he's a great cleanup guy. Okay. All right, all right. You're exactly right, D. New. That's all right. Interesting. Yeah, you're right. It is, Grant. Man. My goodness. Yeah, I know demographics change, but Constantine, that's a different argument that you gave. First of all, look, I don't know why I'm getting distracted with your comments, honestly. Any depiction or description of ancient Israelites or Semitic people that we have from that area never looks like Europeans. Now, they don't look like most Hebrew Israelites. That's true. They're off. But you're off. And the idea that they were having blonde hair and blue eyes is just so ludicrous. You can't just say demographics change and then say, therefore, you know? Come on, man. You're going to have... Man, facts are facts. Would you like to debate this sometime, Constantine? I would love to debate you on if Jesus was white. I would totally debate you on this. Come on. Because this is bad. Okay. We have someone who wants to come in and give their opinion of the debate. I'm going to bring up the screen now. It may be the wrong screen, so I may have to adjust it. But let me go ahead and adjust this. I'm glad that someone's come. Yeah, this is from the last discussion. Let me fix that. But welcome to Street Apologists Live. We got Rock E. Shepherd. He is here to give his perspective of the debate. I'm listening to you, and I'm glad you're here with us. Let me fix your name on the screen. But go ahead. Tell me what you thought, Rock.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Floor is yours. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know why people have to know. I mean, I don't think anybody really knows exactly what Jesus looked like. I mean, it says he was from the line of Abraham. Abraham was a Chaldean, and so it's really not a race. It was whoever you believes in the religion of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's who Israel was. It wasn't a race. It was always following the God of and putting your faith in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, you know?
Yeah. Well, if I was going to be on the other side, like let's say you called up and let's say that I was a Hebrew Israelite, I might say something like this, just to try to give you their perspective. Obviously, I'm a Christian. I don't hold their perspective, just to be clear. They might say something like, well, if the color of Jesus doesn't matter, then why were all these artists in Europe and in America, why were they painting these white pictures of Jesus and then showing them to our people and to across the world as if that's how Jesus looked? If it didn't matter, why did they go out of their way to present to us a white Jesus? You see what I'm saying? They might say that. And it's not like they have no point there. Now, they're making a mistake by going the other way and acting as if, well, we know what Jesus looked like, and he basically looked like me. You know, the person talking, saying something like that. That's also incorrect and silly. And you're right, we cannot absolutely know. Anything we talk about with how Jesus looked is going to have to be based upon generalities, probabilities. It's going to have to fall within a spectrum, like a range. It's going to have to be like that. Welcome to the smoke room. Rock, No, that's okay. No, you don't have to stop on my account. You're good. It's just funny because I do a show sometimes called The Smoke Room. And on The Smoke Room, people come in and they give me their questions or comments about things. And this is the first time we've got someone literally doing it. So you don't have to apologize, by the way. But what just happened? You just froze up. You can call back. And I was just making an inside joke. You don't have to stop, okay? If you could call back because for some reason you're frozen. I don't know what happened there. I apologize. Let's see if we can get you back on. That was just a joke. You don't have to stop, though. Okay, so hopefully we get someone else to come in because I really liked having a little bit of a okay, there you are. Okay, so... But do you understand why someone might say, for a long time Europeans pushed in our face a white Jesus, and why is it bad for us to respond?
I can answer that question. Okay, Jesus came through the line of David, and David was said to be ruddy, which means red. Now, was that his hair? And remember his son? His hair was identified as being long red hair that got hung up in the tree.
Absalom was described as having long hair. Yeah. Hey, I think you've maybe got me on in the background. I don't know if there's feedback. I don't hear it anymore, so never mind. Absalom was described as having long hair, but it was not described as red hair. Now, David himself was described as ruddy. That's true. But it's not. It doesn't describe his hair as ruddy. And the lexical understanding of ruddy in that context has to do within the spectrum of brown. What I mean by that is the way you would describe a horse who has a reddish tint. So, if that, because I've looked into this because I want to understand it, it appears the way the Hebrews use the term that ends up being translated as ruddy, it appears the way they would use it when they're describing the color of a biological being is not like red that you would pull out of a Crayola box. It's red in the sense of brown with a reddish tint. So you've probably heard sometimes when people talk about the red heifer, they're talking about a cow with a certain color, right? But they don't literally mean a cow that looks like it's part of that its color is identical to the rainbow spectrum, like the red in the rainbow. They don't mean that. They mean a brown that has this reddish tinge or tint to it. So it's my understanding that ruddy means that. So basically, the Bible would be describing David as some shade of brown because it never says his hair is ruddy. It describes him as ruddy, and the indication seems to be ruddy in body. And as a follow-up to that point, there's a place where the princes of Israel, I believe it's in Lamentations. Can someone in the live chat go to the book of Lamentations and Google or search, in whatever program you use, ruddy, and put that verse on the screen? It says they're ruddy in body. So that indicates that it was a skin tone common to Hebrews. You froze up again. I don't know if you could call back again. I don't know why this keeps on happening. I'm sorry there. But Better Day says ruddy is dark red. I would tend to want to describe it as brown with a reddish tint. And I'm not saying I'm an expert in this, but I have looked into this because I did want to have a better understanding of how Hebrews were using the word. Yeah. Constantine says semantics. Again, Constantine, I invite you to come on and debate because you're over here trying to say Jesus is white and all this other stuff. And I'd love to debate you on the topic either now or some other time, Constantine, because it's not mere semantics. And I could get more into detail on this, Constantine. I'm talking to the guy in the live chat. But so Rock, does that help somewhat or make sense?
I never thought he was white. I thought he was from, Egypt, Africa, maybe Arab looking or whatever.
Yeah, well, of course, he's from Israel, of course. Yeah, he's from Israel.
People that think that's important are the people that, they just don't get it. They don't get it.
Well, I agree. It's not something about Jesus that defines his character, right? That's true. But again, it is important to understand that for a long time, you had a lot of people portraying Jesus as not just white European, but almost Nordic looking. A pointy nose, chiseled angular features, soft hair, and a lot of times not even very masculine. So there's other issues there. And there's a debate about if we should portray Jesus or not. people out of the Puritan tradition tend to say no because it's making an image of God. But if we're going to make it, we should at least try to make it, I guess, somewhat more accurate. Real quick, I got a couple super chats I got to deal with here. Shout out to Ted East for dropping a few, and he says that the Book of Life channel hosted by Albert is being bombarded by the BHI. It's not HBI, real quick, though, there, Ted. It's BHI, if you're going to use that acronym. Albert is a solid Christian that could use the support. Osh and his followers have been bombing the live streams. It's an African man. Okay. Well, if you could send me a link or maybe set me up with him, I'll take a look into it, Ted. Thank you for the super chats. I appreciate that. But so it's not that they have a point in the sense of how Jesus' image has been misused as a tool of oppression. That is true, that portraying God and portraying Jesus in a certain way in certain contexts has been used as a tool of oppression. Now, sometimes this gets over-sensationalized. There's some medieval paintings where they're just painting Jesus how they think people look. And that's why sometimes you'll see these medieval paintings where they have the Roman guards looking like people of their era. And they have the disciples looking like people in their era. You know, they didn't really know how people dressed in first century Palestine or Israel. So they're just portraying them a certain way. I think that's too far to say they're using that as a tool of white supremacy. But in other contexts, it clearly is. And so we do got to recognize that. And it is important to recognize Jesus is an Israelite. You know, he's a Hebrew man. He's not a European. He's not an African. He is who he is. And that matters because the incarnation matters. And that's not the main point of this debate, but it is something for us to discuss and talk about. Now, let's play a couple more clips, and then I want to look at some of the other comments that you guys have, and someone else could come in as well if they would like to. Then I'd love to talk to you if you're able to come.
Interesting. No, I appreciate you breaking that down because I think that's a very foundational point when we're talking salvation and who has access, because that's a huge part. I think that's built into the theology.
We're gonna show you.
Adam got him.
Now I'm gonna play a part here where Adam makes some great points. While that's coming, though, let me take a look at some of your comments here in the live chat. And Celtic, I'm not exactly sure that you're right about that. And Americans over time did have a white Jesus, although it's true the Puritans didn't adopt the white Jesus because they were iconoclasts. You know what I'm saying? Marion says, exactly, vocab. I had no idea they wore long dress looking garbs until I was told, tunics or whatever. Now, that's partly important what she's saying there because you guys, if you were a medieval European, how would you be able to know what a first century Israelite dressed or looked like? There's a certain level of ignorance that's limited because of your limited exposure to the world. And that is true. That is true. No doubt about that. Let's see here. Places you first be at anyways, I just skipped to my. Ted, you don't have to apologize for a super chat, and I don't want to skip it. I don't want to skip it. Okay, Anonymous Hebrew actually got it, and I appreciate that. By the way, I'm going to be debating Anonymous Hebrew coming up here in January. Anonymous Hebrew, could you drop the link for our debate coming up here? I don't remember the exact date. If you could drop that, because the page has already been made, or maybe the title or something, so people can know about that, because I actually haven't announced it yet. But Anonymous Hebrew brought up the scripture I was referring to, Lamentations 4:7. Her Nazarites, some translations say her princes. There's a debate about that. But either way, it's describing certain Israelites, okay? And it says, were purer than snow, they were whiter than milk, they were more ruddy in body than rubies, their polishing was of sapphire. Now, this is an interesting passage because if you were someone who tried to make Israelites white, you could use the first part of this verse, or if you're trying to make them a different way, you could use the other part of this verse. This is one of the rare places where they're actually being described, physically speaking, in the line, they were more ruddy in body than rubies. So what's the first part of the line? Now, I've done the show on this. That purer than snow, whiter than milk has to do basically, and I've looked at a lot of commentaries on this. This is a short version. It basically has to do with a healthiness, like you got that glow about you. It does not mean that their skin was white, especially when it literally says right in the same context, they were ruddy in body, because the Hebrew actually says they were ruddy in body. So that lets you know it's an actual physical description. It's basically saying they were healthy, because if you look in the next verses after that, it says then they got dirty and they got all jacked up and all messed up and you could barely recognize them in the street. And so that's a very fascinating and interesting part. Now, let me see if we're coming up on this part where Adam's going to talk about Jonah. Yeah, pretty soon he's going to do that. What do you guys think of these comments, and what's your reference understanding of the debate? Lamentations 4:7 says it's a reference to purity, not skin color. The first part has to do partially with that in regards to health, like I said. The rubies and sapphire conclusion makes it clear that it's not about skin. No one has a skin of color of sapphire. You're partially right there, but you're not right about the part about rubies, because it says they were ruddy in body. So I don't see any reason we shouldn't take that literally, where it says ruddy in body, especially if we understand what color ruddy actually is. I think that's important. So I'm going to disagree about that. It does say they're ruddy in body, but it doesn't mean they're literally red. It's saying they were healthy looking with that healthy brown tint with a glow. Okay, now here comes a part where Adam is going to talk about Jonah and Nineveh. And I love the way that he breaks this down in this debate with the ISUPK. The two captains here, you have Akkad and you have Tazarayach. And this was on the Hardly Initiated channel, a channel that I want to get on as well and have a discussion with Guerrilla Hebrew. Hopefully the Lord can make that happen. That's up to him. Listen to this part right here.
I think it's pretty tragic, because what we're seeing is both of these brothers fall to the same deception that the ancient Israelites did back in the day. You know, one of them being, if you look in the Old Testament, before you even get to the New Covenant, God is already at work pressing against the conscience of the nation of Israel to recognize this broader global plan that he has to include Gentiles, non-Israelites, in the plan of salvation. And so when you look at the book of Jonah, for example, obviously we know the story. He gets swallowed by the whale. He doesn't want to go to Nineveh and preach. Why doesn't he want to preach to the Ninevites? They were a non-Israelite nation that he believed to be wicked and just not deserving of repentance. And he felt some type of way. He was upset because he knew that they had the opportunity to repent, and that if they did, God would forgive them. And so he's actually upset that God is willing to forgive this non-Israelite nation. And so what happens at the end, I'm just going to read 2 verses. He's so mad about God forgiving them, these non-Israelites, that he says, I just want to die, right? And then God causes a plant, as he's in the desert, God causes a plant to grow up over him to give him shade, and then the plant dies, and he's upset about it. And then God says about the plant, says, is it right for you to be angry about the plant? And then Jonah says, it is. And I'm so angry, I wish I were dead. But the Lord said, you have been concerned about this plant, though you did not tend it or make it grow. It sprang up overnight and died overnight. And should I not have concern for the great city of Nineveh, in which there are more than 120,000 people who cannot tell their right hand from their left, and also many animals? And that's how the book of Jonah ends, with this rhetorical question, the clear implication being that God clearly cares about the Ninevites who are obviously a non-Israelite nation. Right? Not just some Gentiles that was in Nineveh. The whole nation of Nineveh repented, right? And what we're seeing is, from these brothers, and I say this respectfully, is the same hardness of heart that Jonah had with respect to God's mercy and salvation. That's what's embedded in your doctrine. Unfortunately for you, God is far more gracious, than you might want him to be, right? That's just a fact of the matter, and that's borne out in Scripture. Now, I want to address some of the points here. And I'll be real quick at this. So Genesis 35:11, brother, you actually kind of cut yourself. So I want to go right there right quick. So Genesis 35:11, the reason why I'm looking down from time to time is because I'm taking notes on what you guys are saying. I'm trying to take your argument seriously and respond to them. It says, and God said to him, I am God Almighty. Be fruitful and increase in number. A nation and a community of nations will come from you, and kings will be among your descendants. And so what this brother seems to think is that this community of nations is just a multiplying of Israelite nations, right? So what I suggest to you is that the same, going back to you mentioned Romans 7 with, through Isaac, shall you salvation come, or whatever it was.
Stop right there real quick. Shout out to Rachel for the super chat. Thank you very much. That's a Merry Christmas gift. And if we get one more, I'm going to sing Merry Christmas to you guys and pretty much look like an idiot. And I almost don't want to get one more because I don't really want to sing Merry Christmas to you guys because someone's going to clip it and make me a total dummy. And I don't really want to. So let's just keep it at 4 if we could. That's cool with me. Make sure you fill out the poll, though. And let's show one of these last clips here at the 148 mark where you've got something that's rather fascinating in the discussion that I think you guys will appreciate because it's sort of a surprise moment in this debate. I don't think anyone saw this moment coming in the debate. So let's play it, and you'll see what I mean by a surprise moment here. Are you guys ready for this? I think you're going to enjoy this. All right, let's play this here, right?
You know, I want to actually ask this to my Hebrew Israelite brothers here because I think this is really important. I've seen in the community, especially in Christianity, many very popular, podcast circles, just among people I know, they would even go as far as classifying Hebrew Israelites as a cult. I want to ask you guys, just actually being in the trenches of being a Hebrew Israelite or an Israelite and actually navigating it, dealing with the brothers, and sisters a part of the organization, if that's the lack of better words. But why do you think?
No problem. I'm going to answer your question. All right. I do also want to respond to some things that Adam has said and as well as the other cat down there.
Yeah.
We are a cult. You know why? Because cult is just short for culture. Hebrew Israelite culture is different from any other culture in the world. You don't hear any other group of people proclaiming the things we proclaim about the Bible, prophesying the things we are prophesying that come to pass, speaking of the truth about Christ in the middle of those streets like we do. This is a different culture, and we are the cult leaders of this culture in the ISUPK.
That's right.
You understand? The brother down, what's that brother name again with the hat?
BK.
Yeah, BK. There you go. You read Romans where Paul said he wished himself was a curse. You don't understand that scripture because you're not a cult leader. You don't follow Christ. I do. I wish I was a curse for you. I wish you could understand this goddamn book so you could stop eating pork, so you could stop loving white people, so you could stop loving America, so that you can have the promises and the blessings and the glory that the Lord gave us in this book. That's what Paul was saying. I wish myself was a curse because when Paul was out in the streets teaching, it was brothers like you saying, no, God loves everybody, and blase, 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 and we all one people, and this and that. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here knowing that you're the greatest on the face of the earth that says in the Bible, and you reject that knowledge. You understand? The moderator said, what did he say? Oh my goodness. He said, I can't understand why God would just, separate a people because this and that. In Isaiah, I think it's 55 and verse 8, the Lord said, my ways are not your ways and my thoughts are not your thoughts. You will never begin to understand why God does the things that he does or has established what he's established. The Lord has created blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians to be the greatest on the face of the planet, and it's in the Bible.
Are you guys a cult? Yes, we're a cult. And the reason you can't understand this Bible is because you're not a cult leader. I'm a cult leader. I want you to understand this GD book. That's what this man just said. Oh, who's going to make a short out of that? Someone needs to make a short out of that and send it to me. Okay, look, there's actually a lot more to get to here. I'm starting to get worried we're not going to be able to cover it because there's so much good stuff here. Okay, let's go more towards the end here. 2:16. This part's funny because BK tells on him. You guys ready? BK's he's gonna tell on him. It's so good. It's so good. All right, watch. He's gonna come through. By the way, Okay, just watch this.
Bring up.
Cameras must be turned on.
Cameras must be turned on backstage, and please be on mute until we bring you up and call your name. Other than that, BK, close us out.
Man, that strong man is highly articulated. They got a kung fu grip. It's rocking some Jordan 3s and a fitted. It is a well-made strong man. But that's all they've been trotting out. It's the strong man. It's amazing. You know, it gets sturdy. It does everything. It's amazing. You know what I mean? You're still not talking about the Christianity that we're talking about. You know, you're just not. And to my man, Akkad, the reason why I brought up me being plant-based, because you said I ate pork. You seem to forget that. So you don't know me, and you said that's not true. And tell the people, please tell the people that you don't believe that Yahweh Shai is going to crack the sky and you're not going to enslave white people. Go tell everybody. Deny that. Go ahead. Go for it.
Hold on, wait.
Yeah, right.
BK,
Right.
wait. I want to understand what you're asking him. What are you asking him to say?
Because he said, I didn't talk about revenge. I don't believe. Well, in their ideology, they're waiting for Yahweh Shai, that's who they call Jesus, to crack open the sky so that they can enslave white people.
Wow. Whoa.
If that's not revenge, I don't know what.
How did we not know that?
He can articulate it way better than I am because that's his belief. Go ahead, bro. Share.
So let's confirm. Let's confirm this.
How do you address this?
Right. Is it true that you believe that Jesus, when he comes back, he's going to actually enslave white people?
That's correct.
There you go.
But if I may, I didn't bring that up. He did.
Wow. That's what is your belief? What are you talking about?
You brought it up.
The fact that you didn't is telling. You didn't want to tell it because you know if you say it, you're gonna look crazy. What you do now, appreciate it. Thank you.
So
can I say something?
So where does that? But I'm curious here. Where does that theory come from? Could you break down where?
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. The hosts are shocked. They can't believe that that's what this guy holds to. Wait a minute. You know, the hosts are totally in disarray. They didn't know this was the One West belief. And he's like, do you really believe that? That's correct. That's correct, sir. And the way BK did it, just like D-News said, it was the most Brooklyn way possible. Oh, how epic was that, the way he did that? Man, that was too epic. Marion says, it's BK's fault because he brought it up. Yeah, exactly. Oh, this debate. Look, here's the thing with this debate. There's more I want to get to. We might have to cover this debate at another time. I have like 10 more highlights here. But I need to talk to you guys about this, and we might do it. But the line is still open if you want to come on and give your opinion of this debate. This is an important debate because it was on a huge channel. And the thing is, it's a channel that doesn't usually have stuff like this. Now, recently, they've been having stuff like this, which is great. Sort of middle-class, millennial channel by and large, you know? They deal with finance, relationships, dating advice, stuff like that, and testimonials and whatnot, pop culture issues. Now here, they're getting into apologetics. And they had a fantastic debate on the first go-round where they had Damon and Pastor Jerome versus two other guys, and they showed that Christianity is not antithetical to African culture and identity. In fact, it enhances it, you might even want to say, because the image of God is more fully expressed when we're in Christ, okay? So they just did a killer job bringing out all the receipts from history, from Scripture, just boom, 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 boom. Right after that, they had this debate, ISUPK versus two Christian apologists, Adam Coleman of True ID and BK. They do amazing. And now a new audience who wasn't really aware of this. You can see the hosts are surprised by this. How much more do you think a lot of the audience is surprised by this? They're hearing this in a context where they're not just having these ideas exposed to them for the first time. They're also hearing refutations and rebuttals and the other side and the answer all in one fell swoop. they're not just seeing that, they're also seeing the attitude, the way the Christians carry themselves versus the way UPK carries themselves. It's all right there to see. And everything you would want in a good debate was there. And so BK and Adam deserve so much credit and recognition for allowing the Lord to use them this way. I want you to support them. And Tazarayach and the UPK is really going to take a hit off this. I don't think they realize it. I don't think they were reading the room well. I'm not saying they should have sold out, but they should have done better. They should have been more professional. They should have stepped their game up. They should have dealt with this in a more articulate, serious, and intense way. They basically took it in a dismissive manner, and they used the same old rhetoric that is going way back to the 70s, even before these men were born. They're doing the same stuff that was done out on 125th in Harlem with the same tactics without any updating or any improvement. And it's just not going to hang long term. I believe that long term, Tazarayach's status is sort of the Hebrew Israelite debater. It's going to shrink incredibly, and there's going to be other people to take his place. Because of stuff like this, he shows no interest in improving. And neither does the UPK. To their credit, at least ISUPK is willing to debate. GMS won't do it. IUIC won't do it, right? But he's going to lose that spot, and it's going to be because of reasons like this. So I really hope that people understand this is a significant moment. It's not just another debate. It was large enough and impactful to me. It's going to have long-term ramifications. I think we're seeing just the beginning of this. And that's why a lot of people, they exaggerate when they describe debates, don't they? Everything is destroyed and deflates and embarrassed and refutes and corrects everything. I do that sometimes, but I don't do it every debate. If you notice, a lot of my debates, I put things like calm, peaceful, rational, thoughtful. If the debate is that way, you'll notice I title it that way. Respectful debate. I have debates on the channel that are described that way. Other debates, I will say crushed, but usually it's when someone else does it because I don't want to be talking about myself in that way. However, since this wasn't my debate, it was Adam and BK's, I feel totally comfortable saying they crushed the UPK position. They absolutely crushed it in every meaningful way. And then not only were Adam and BK dropping bombs, but Captain Tazarayach and Captain Akkad were literally laying down landmines and then stepping on top of them immediately after they laid their own landmine down to blow themselves up, time and time again. And I'm using metaphors to describe what I really believe happened. This debate is going to be important, and I'm glad that it happened. And now what I'm going to do is play the outro, and because we got the 5th super chat, I'm going to come back and sing at the very end of the show, but you're going to have to wait till the intro goes. Are you guys ready? And I'm going to wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I wish I could get to more of your comments. I do got love for y'all. Hold on. I'm going to keep my word, but it's going to be after the intro or after the outro. Ready? Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.